Welcome. I like this. Thank you so much for being here tonight. My name is Emlyn Guinea, and I am the Senior Manager of Events for CIIS Public Programs here at CIIS. Thank you very much. Thank you so much for being here. We have folks in the room. We have folks online. Thank you. We're gathered tonight here in San Francisco, which is also known as Yelamu, on traditional unceded land of the Ramaytush Ohlone people. I want to acknowledge the Ramaytush people, their traditions, contributions, and their enduring presence as the original people and continual caretakers of Yelamu. This acknowledgement is just one small step towards being in right relationship with indigenous tribes and organizations in our community, and I encourage you to learn more about the Native communities near you and to support their causes and work. So this evening, we are here for Rinpoche and Constance and Fernando, and we will have a live Q&A after their conversation. And for those of you who are in the room, you will have had little programs on your chairs, and there's a QR code that will link to a question form where you can type in a question. If you don't want to do that, we have pencils, I think, and little cards back there, and you can hand it to one of us. And we will be gathering questions out throughout the evening, so you can just submit them anytime. The same goes for you folks online. You'll find in the event description at the bottom of this video a link to the same form where you can submit questions, and we will try to get to as many as we can. Now I'd like to introduce Rinpoche's interlocutors tonight, Dr. Constance Jones and Dr. Fernando Ona. Dr. Constance Jones is a sociologist of religion who joined CIIS in 1994, having taught at several colleges and theology schools. Beginning her doctoral dissertation on the caste system in India, she has pursued a long interest in the cultures and religions of the East, including the adoption of Hindu and Buddhist beliefs and practices in the West. She researches spiritual teachers as well as the evolution of new religious movements around the world. Dr. Fernando Ona is a methodologist, medical anthropologist, and minister, originally from the Northeast. He began his career in local and state public health and social services before joining the faculties at several public and private universities. He is also a somatic psychotherapist who has supported refugee and asylum-seeking communities who are survivors of torture. He is a certified yoga teacher and an ordained minister. Please join me in welcoming Fernando and Constance to the stage.
Thank you. Wow. Okay. It is a blessing. It's a blessing to see some of my students and our beloved community here. Tasha Delic, blessings. Thank you for being here and being present with us this evening. It's a special evening for us, especially for both Connie and myself. I don't even know where to begin sometimes with this. So we are here as a Transformative Inquiry Department. And this department has been really committed to consciousness studies. And this is part of this work around consciousness studies. And it's connected to a deep lineage. And we have someone here who is part of the lineage I come from, partly, which is the Bön tradition. And this is an extension of our ongoing commitment at CIIS, at the Transformative Inquiry Department, and amongst our beloved community, who is really connected to a deepening and understanding and presencing with consciousness. As many of you know, many of our professors, our students, our wisdom keepers, our ancestors have been engaged with consciousness studies for quite some time. And we have reanimated it here in our department and in our work. And many of our students are re-engaging and reconnecting to this work. And part of this is engaging with folks like Rinpoche and others who are at the forefront of really deeply presencing us, radically presencing us, with deep radical curiosity, with loving kindness and compassion, to understand not only the human world, but the beyond human world, and how we can better be stewards, be present with that, and love each other in deeper and loving ways, and in being in relationship with that, transform our world. And so without further ado, I'm so thankful that each of you are here and each of you are present with us. I'm going to have Connie, who's one of our senior faculty people here at CIIS, introduce Rinpoche. Blessings.
That was Fernando. He's a phenomenon around here. He's new to our department. It's the Transformative Inquiry Department, and I think you would be fascinated by what he's done. In any case, thank you, Fernando. So we're welcoming Rinpoche tonight. I have an introductory statement that I want to make about tying together what I do academically in a scholarly way with what Rinpoche is going to talk about today. So I'll say, maybe you know, I think we all increasingly know that there are wisdom keepers, there are insights, pieces of wisdom that are constantly now coming out of Tibet. We know that all of the sources, the cache, the treasury held in Tibet has not been uncovered yet. So as the discovery comes, as translations occur, as interpretations and commentaries are made, we're learning more, and we're learning about ourselves in the process. So what I teach is self-inquiry and consciousness studies. And I want to say that I am learning by learning what the Tibetans say about consciousness and self-inquiry. So I want to concentrate on those two terms, consciousness and self-inquiry, because I think they are, in fact, not only the birthright, but the responsibility of each human being. So we're welcoming Rinpoche here tonight to talk about luminosity in the face of consciousness and self-inquiry, because we hear luminosity used quite often in the Bön tradition, and I want to know more about that. So I was going to say something about that tradition, but I asked him, and he said he would spend a couple of minutes talking about the Bön tradition, so I'm going to leave it up to him. So I'm going to introduce Rinpoche. So here he is, and he's quite a well-established, popular, touching speaker. You'll find that out soon. He was born in North India of Tibetan parents who escaped the Chinese invasion. He studied with both Bön and Tibetan Buddhist scholars and at Tibetan Buddhist and Bön schools. And after an 11-year rigorous period, I understand he was awarded the title of Geshe, which is the highest title that one can get in the Tibetan tradition through academic pursuits. And after that, he was recognized as a Rinpoche, which is a high-level spiritual teacher. And now he is a lineage bearer. So he has all the credentials. And not only that, but he's just a lot of fun. So anyway, he went from that then to come over to the United States, and he has 3 organizations that I want to mention. Ligmincha, which is headquartered in Virginia, which is organized around disseminating properly the treasures of Tibet. And secondly, the 3 Doors, which is an organization which teaches and reinforces practices of meditation. And then the third thing is a cyber sangha. A cyber sangha is this almost Alexandrian library of resources, podcasts, videos, lectures, articles, printings, etc. And all of that is accessible to people who want to understand more about the Tibetan lineages. And the 3 organizations met last week to have 1 hour with Rinpoche. And just to let you know how expansive his network is, there were, I think, 650 people that were on the internet connection. And there were 5 simultaneous translators, 5 different languages going on at the same time. So he not only has those 3 organizations, but he has specific centers, which are retreat centers where you can go and learn things about Tibetan Buddhism and Bön, and learn meditation techniques, etc. So the whole idea of a philosophy plus a practice is what's being reinforced here. I also want to say that he has a connection here at CIIS. One of our dear emeritus professors, Stephen Goodman, who was a Tibetan scholar, both of Tibetan language and Tibetan Buddhism, who just died a few years ago, was a collaborator with Rinpoche as an editor and as a translator in some of his work. So that gives you an idea of the broad range of some of Rinpoche's activities. I have had the good fortune to be at some of the seminars and weekends with him. And as far as I'm concerned, my self-inquiry has deepened. My understanding of consciousness is wider. And my notion of why we are here and my sense of interconnectedness has blossomed. So I hope that's a good enough introduction for you. It's okay. And then I'm going, thank you. So yeah, bravo, thank you. So, I mean, here, if you don't mind, just a few minutes on Bön, okay. And then.
So, good evening, everybody. Happy to be here, honored to be here. I've been here quite a number of times, and always kind of nice to be back here. So, I'll say a little bit about the Bön, but not too long. So, the Bön tradition is the indigenous tradition of Tibet. So, according to oral tradition, not historian version of history, but the oral tradition of tradition says goes back 17,000 years. So I don't know about 17,000, but for sure, very, very old tradition. It's the root of all the Tibetan civilization, even all the unique taste of Tibetan Buddhism. As you can see, Tibetan Buddhism is very unique, different from other Theravada or Thai or Indian, Japanese Buddhists. The all kind of flavor of the indigenous tradition of Bön tradition. So it's a very rich tradition from very shamanic earth elemental spirit knowledge to the yogic movement, breath to subtle awareness, all different layers. They're called 9 ways of Bön. It's a very rich tradition. In Tibet, probably it's one of the maybe second or third largest group of school, because it's kind of stand its own rather than the 4 or 5 Buddhist schools. So, in my own background, my father was from Gelug tradition, my mother was from Bön tradition, but between my father and my mother was stronger, who were taking care of me, so I became Bombo. So yeah, so that's kind of more or less the history or a little bit information. And then online, if you wanted to know more, you can learn a lot of more things. Yeah.
Thank you for that, Rinpoche. So, as you know, my grandmother is Tibetan, from Western Tibet, and is from the Bön lineage, from the Bön tradition. And this first question is really around luminosity. So my grandmother would always say, you have to experience, so often luminosity, at least in academic circles, has framed it as a metaphysical experience, right? And my grandmother would be like, no, I'm inviting you to actually think of it more differently. In our tradition, it's not in your head. And I'm curious how you would describe luminosity within the Bön sort of framework to someone who's not familiar with luminosity in both the Bön tradition, but also in Tibetan Buddhism.
Mm-hmm. So this, I mean, if you use the word luminosity, so I use that word a lot. And so word luminosity basically referring to a light, right? So if you think about in our tradition, Luminosity means many different layers of understanding of it. This is a light, sunlight, many different UV light, infrared light, and many different forms of light. And people in the modern science, people believing that you need to be exposed to the morning light because of to set up your circadian rhythm, very important factor of your health and well-being, vitamin D, and so on. So the light, exposure to the light is so important, especially to your eye, to set up. These practices, I mean, modern science nowadays they talk about this. I don't, in terms of this, particularly sleep hygiene and so on. So ancient time, when I was growing up, we have quite a few older monks. Every morning, every evening, they would go when the sun rise, when the sun set, at least 3-4 hours of meditation. You just go in the sun. It look like that, and of course, it not just look like that, but it's many different ways, different postures, different breathings, different gazes, different ways, many ways of exercising light. So they basically, it's called practices of light. You look at the sky, just a clear sky. You look at the sun, not direct, but you go like this. You look at the sun, and you look at different posture, because how your body, if I sit like this, my clarity is very different. If I sit like this, my clarity changes. So you have to energize the level of clarity when you're exposing to the sun to exercise that luminosity, outer luminosity, right? Or then you have practice of luminosity going into the dark room. So when I was a teenage, I went 50 days, 50, no exposure to the light, no light at all. And my mom used to say, after I came out, I was very hyper, So when I came out, I was like calm and quiet. She used to say, I want to put all sisters into the dark room. Because, so they did not force me to, my teacher or my mom did not force me, because when there was something new thing to do, I was curious to do it. I wanted to experiment. So I went there. So I had many different visions in the dark room. So you can here they might call it, we call it a vision, but here they call it hallucination, whatever you want to call it, right? So so these all are practices of luminosity in environment, circumstances, posture, breath, sun, moon, sky, dark. You're activating your light inside, or then including sleep. So there's a term called, in Tibetan tradition, we call sal. Sal. It means sal means clear light. It's a term that we use. Luminosity is we have trying to make their understanding more loose understanding of their Rosal. So what does the Rosal means? They talk about four Rosals. One they call Rangjinji Rosal, means natural clear light. Natural clear light. So for example, natural clear light will be something like this very moment. If we all are in this moment together, but not necessarily we all are in the same state of mind, right? We agree with that. One person might be very much deep into the disconnected, wound, trauma, pain, conflict, stories. Another person might be not so much like that. Another person might be taking life quite easy, very open, relaxed, and easy. Another person might look at life in situation very optimistic. Everything's good, everything's wonderful, everything like that. So you can see many different ways. So think about from worst to the best. So what would best would look like? Best would look like. Let's talk about this. What would the best would look like? Best would look like something that your sense of yourself, you're no one, you're free. Like in the weekend. Do you like weekend? Do you like Friday afternoon? Yes. Yeah. Do you hate Monday morning? Absolutely. Okay. So you just, I always joke about it. You say Monday morning, 9 o'clock, statistically if it's true or not, I'm not sure, but I've heard more people die on Monday morning at 9 o'clock than any other day or time of the week. Because nobody likes the Monday and 9 o'clock. That's not a good timing, right? So just imagine Friday. What does a Friday means? Your professional pain identity, it clears in a Friday afternoon. Just like off. I'm free. I have nothing to do. I'm so happy. Or I will do some fun things. I will do some what I like to do. So that kind of energy. Just imagine intensifying that Friday afternoon into maybe 1,000 times. That means you're not only, Friday afternoon is only professional pain identity freedom, not family obligation freedom. If you have a kid, and I know, especially my wife knows that school holiday comes, we don't like it. And when the school started, she goes to Tibetan kata, scarf. She goes to the teachers. I don't know how you guys handle these kids. Thank you so much, right? So imagine you are in the situation where you are free from all the things, family obligation, professional obligation, stories, conflicts. Just think about freedom, everything. Then it will look like similar to something called natural clear light, that you are so free, so clear, so open, and so connected. And that's called natural clear light, okay? These are examples. Probably none of these will kind of really, truly represent what I'm trying to say, that I don't know any other way to say that than talking about the Friday afternoon, right? So that's one thing. It's called natural clear light. Second thing is called meditative clear light. Meditative clear light is when people do a meditation, that basically means first steps of the meditation will be trying to stop your thinking, ruminating, right? You just, whatever your object you're focusing. Nowadays, everybody has a very short attention span, right? But imagine you look at one object, sit there for 3 hours. Like, imagine like you are a sniper or older person who is putting thread in the needle, like you go 3 hours. Because that intensity of attention is the key. Because if you do like this, you're following sleep. But nobody follows sleep in the middle of the process of trying to put the thread in the needle. No sniper will follow sleep that last second of they're going to use the trigger. They don't. So the same way, meditation is similar intensity for 3 hours. When you do that in the beginning, it stops all your thoughts. And then gradually when it stops your thought, and then not only it stops thoughts, but then you begin to get used to that state of connectedness. It gets easier. It's easier. You feel more comfortable. Your ease, it becomes more natural. You really begin to like it. They say you like it because like a bee sitting on a flower, like sitting on a flower, sucking the nectars. It's a pleasure, it's a joy. So it's like looking at whatever the object you're looking at, you're like, it's a flower. It's just a deep sense of warmth and bliss. So, and then eventually what they call non-object, it's attention, focus attention, and open awareness. They call open awareness. Open awareness will be, then you take away the object of the attention away, then you feel like some kind of just unbounded luminous space. Effortless, unbounded luminous space. That deep experiences of freedom, awakening, of light. So that's called the meditative clear light. That means during those meditation, what is the main thing there? There is this awareness. That awareness of attention, focus, open awareness. So the open awareness is called luminosity. Okay, let me explain. So the luminosity, defining the way of luminosity means no thoughts. It's not a thinking, it's not a conceptual mind. It's not a thinking mind. It's not even emotion. It's not, you might feel something out of it, but it's not even a feeling. It's called pure awareness, luminosity. So that's meditative luminosity. Then it's called sleep, clear light of sleep. So in the West, when you think about dream and sleep, we don't talk so much. I mean, there's nobody talks about it as far as I know. If they are talking about it, there might be some influence from the East, but in the science, neuroscientists, sleep expert, nobody talks about. So you have awake, you have a light sleep, you have a deep sleep, you have a REM sleep. That's it. So anything happening, it's very difficult to say. Probably anything happening, probably somewhere in between light and deep sleep, there might be a space where it could be called. I mean, again, this is my speculation, some ideas, but I don't know scientifically. I cannot say exactly any research saying, okay, this is the definition of clear light, sleep of clear light, and this is the brain activity. It looks as happening right here. There is nothing like that so far yet, but there probably in the future could be something like that. So it happens during that time. And so there are, I wrote a book called Tibetan Yogas of Dream and Sleep. So there are exercises, that many different ways of exercises to introduce that state within the sleep. So anyway, I'm not going to go into it. So that's the third one. And the last one, the fourth one, is called sleep, clear light or pardo. So clear light pardo means that when people die, that there are thousands of cases of near-death experiences that people are seeing light, as people are seeing tunnels, and so those, and usually, other than that, there's not much of explanation what that light is and so on. So according to this Tibetan ancient tradition, you encounter this inner light during death. So when you experience this light, inner light during the death, you have opportunity to recognize them. You will only recognize them if you are familiar with what that light means to you. The only way to become familiar with what that light means to you, that you have some experiences with the sleep when you're alive. You have some meditative experiences during the waking life. And so if you're familiar with these moments, then waken to sleep, then pardo, that recognition can come. So that's what in short, clear light means the pure awareness. Internally, clear light means outside, means vision. You see a lot of vision. You see, like in a dark retreat, you see like a movie. But these lights are somehow related to the internal light. So it's not a hallucination sense. It's okay, you're getting deluded. No, we don't see that delusion. We see these lights are connected to inside. If it's a delusion, this is delusion, this is delusion, this is delusion, we're all delusion. But there's nothing that this is delusion and this is something that are real, nothing like that. It's all same, connected with luminosity.
Are you ready for another question? I want to pick up on what you said about pain identity, because at one point you said that the pure awareness, which is without thought, is luminosity. So, and so that's freedom. It's freedom from Connie or whatever is holding me back, which is the pain identity. So Are you saying then that pain identity is something that covers over the true nature, which is pure awareness, and where we can actually train the attention to go there, and where the pain identity is lost or not used or whatever,
Sure.
stands by the side?
Sure. So again, so if you think about luminosity, luminosity means clear. Pain identity, it means not clear. So I identify with pain. Therefore, in definition, you're not clear. So if when we talk if you think about any process of any healing, what you're trying to do is you're trying to process unprocessed thoughts, emotion, trauma, feelings, whatever is there. That's what you're trying to do. So when you clear that, it does not guarantee that you have cleared the root of those things. The root of those things is the identity underlying that, because it's like I don't know. You might, if it's the desk or something, like you can clear them, but you might not clear where it's coming from, right? So the pain identity is, in our tradition, pain identity is the main point. So let's go. I mean, that's the theoretical. So let's think about a little bit more practical sense. You know, if you look at it in your life right now, one thing we all know, you wanted to be happier, right? And we all have stories, right? Do you have stories? Stories with the family, story with the relationship, stories with the jobs, stories with the health, whatever you have, we have stories. So if you look at the story, there is somebody is composing, creating these stories. Who is that? Who is that? Very often, we always think about how to resolve the problem. We don't think about who are creating the problem. We don't think about that. I mean, if you look at it even globally, you know, like if you look at the international conflicts, you can very often see even the way people resolve conflict. You know, you see that, you know, like right now the war and all the negotiations happening in Pakistan. So the agenda is just kind of, you go with this clear plan. These are our demands, and they have their plan. You have to somehow come to somewhere in the middle that everybody, weaker side will have to give up more, stronger side will have more leverage, and that's called negotiation, resolving some problem. But the problem is not resolving, for sure. I mean, that's I think one of the very big delusions. I know this is not a politic we're talking here, but this is the same human problem. As we think we are resolving something, you are not resolving anything unless you address the root of these issues. Then you can clear. When it clears for once and forever. Same thing. If you look at a couple's relationship, you might have a problem of, you know, where to go holiday to. You must have a big argument about where to go holiday. That's not. Then you can finally come to a decision and say, okay, we go holiday somewhere. You agreed on it. That's not a problem. The problem is between two people. There's a deeper issues. So even in yourself, you can say, well, I'm happy today. Well, maybe you're happy today. You're tired of being suffering for a long time. You're tired of suffering. Now you're happy. That doesn't mean you will not suffer tomorrow. The cause of suffering is there. You will create, very soon you will create another story. As long as you know there's someone deeper than the story, there is someone deeper than these thoughts, these feelings, then you have to address who. Then when you address who, that is what I call pain identity. In Buddhism, they're trying to less emphasize on that. I emphasize that a lot more in the West. Buddhism, they will emphasize not on pain identity, they will emphasize on luminosity. In the West, when I'm talking about luminosity, I have many friends that, what are you talking about this luminosity for all these years? And no matter how much I explain, it goes back to the same place. I don't get it. But if I explain about the pain identity which comes out here, oh, now I get it. Now I get it. I know who I am not, but I do not know who I am. So that's good enough to be curious about. I wanted to know who I am not and why who I am not is creating all this story. I'm dedicated my life to figure out that. That's my spiritual journey. If you think that way, you're already in good track.
Wow, that is, and this is, you know, when you're speaking about this, I feel, at least for me and communities I come from, right? There's the distraction of the stories and the practices to try to detach from or practice non-attachment to those stories, right? The challenge, though, becomes we're constantly being barraged by stories after stories after stories, and it becomes an enculturated sort of cycle of violence or repetition. And I'm curious about, in the experiential awareness of light, right? What are the practices that bring us back into that deeper presencing moment of that liberated space of, oh, in that awareness away from that pain, right? That there's a lot of attachment to. Like, what are the you know, talk about the practical ways, but in the world where we're barraged by not only the accumulated stories that we have, but also the stories that are coming at us consistently.
Sure. So I would think about there's two ways. One, if you think about this, like, for example, we are in our life, we are very disconnected with the nature, right? So we are very, concrete buildings, traffic, car, and all those things. So being in the nature, imagine you're in the jungle by yourself for 1 week. Can you imagine that? Yeah. Imagine, okay, if you cannot imagine, then imagine, right? And then imagine what can happen there. So you go a little crazy. People coming from the city, you go a little crazy, you feel lonely, you feel like without your phone, you feel like you're missing something, lack of stimulation, lack of person to talk to, lack of person you can complain about, or you want, like, you know, all those problems. So, but then you go through past couple of days, you get into the maybe third, fourth days, you finally begin, wow, actually this is nice. It takes some time to enjoy silence. It takes some time enjoy the stillness. It takes some time not to be stimulated all the time. It takes some time. But who are the people who are able to give those time? Very not that many people. Comparing to big larger population, very small group of people are able to take that. So that's one problem. So otherwise, okay, let's say, so let's go from 1 week to half an hour, okay? Half an hour is manageable, right? Can you imagine, for example, as a routine, which I do, just even you like your cup of coffee, you make your cup of coffee, you make a discipline, you get out of your house, even you can be out, you know, you walk, take your cup of coffee, or sit outside if you have a little window, open the window, if it's in a garden, just make sure you sit out there, look at the sky, look at the light, and enjoy your coffee. But take half an hour to do that. Who will do that? Okay? I'm not saying who would like to do that. I got it. Yeah. So it's a different than ideally, you know, wanting to do something, but doing something is very different. Taking time, or whatever it is, you know. I went this morning 7 o'clock. I went up in the golf course and I just spent 2 hours there practicing my golf. taking time that rather than thinking it passed through few moments, because I did not meant to spend 2 hours. I meant to spend 1 hour. Then I was waiting for my friend to join, so it became 2 hours. So I'm thinking, okay, well, I'm action guy. So in 2 hours I could be doing a lot of things and making a lot of things happen. I'm just sitting here in a golf course, like that little thought went through, but I saying this is important. This is important. I'm alone. I'm breathing deep. I'm focusing on a sphere of light. Tigle, I call golf ball. I call it tigle. In the bindu. So I'm focusing on my tigle. I'm holding my posture. I'm breathing my breathing. I'm making sure that the last moment my full attention is at the tigle, because very often last moment people lose their attention, people force, so it's a practice, and this is a valuable. I'm looking at the sun, I'm beautiful sky, I'm getting my elemental practices here, but that means ability to give that time to myself, to the sun, to the sky. Okay, it doesn't have to be golf. You just, as I said, it's a simple thing. Just cup of coffee, sit outside, or be alone, quiet, and look at the sky. Actively look at the sky. If you're looking at your social media, sky is your social media. Right? So if you do that, that day will be very different. I guarantee you. If you sit gazing the sky, expose your eye, your body to the light, that day will be different. Even before I come here, I have to, my son has a knee surgery, so he was lying down whole day inside. I have to kind of push him to come out, so I have to out in the outside, so get some sun, get some light. That's luminosity. So you really need to get more exposure to the nature, especially sky and the sun. Then you will feel the differences. That's one. Simplest way to do it.
My question also is thinking about how do we not get distracted, even when you're in that space. So I was swimming today in the light, and I do, I don't know anyone here does this when you do a swimming meditation, or any kind of activity that you may engage in. And I'm here going, okay, my grandmother taught me Om Tari, Tu Tari, Turi, so the Green Tara mantra. I'm trying to do this, but things creep in. I don't know, I'm intentionally, deep intentionally trying to be present in the water with the lights shining in the morning.
Beautiful.
Right? But I got distracted. I'm often distracted. And I'm distracted because, hey, I have to do this work here at CIIS. The litany of things that our everyday life sort of seeps in. And then I'm going, okay, I do the return back to the light, right? Clearly in that space. And yet it creeps in still. And in practice, and then afterwards, I'm like thinking to myself, well, what is going on here? You were talking about the root of pain, right? And I'm going, what is at the root of this practice today that brought me always out of that light? I'm in the light. I'm in that sort of process. But here I am reflecting back on it going, I was distracted. There was a distract. It's pulling me away from
so
luminosity.
That's kind of normal, right? So you can say that's okay to have those experiences. It's a normal. But the key is you have reflected, you have recognized what you did and what you could have done. So those reflections are called practice, right? But imagine you able to see that what you did, and you could have focused more. But there are a lot of other people who swim in that probably same pool. That's their normal routine to get distracted every time. They're only there to their doctor told them to physical movement, but they're not there to contemplative reasons. So you have to set up your also reasoning, especially I know experiences of in the water, light coming down, talking about the luminosity. It's a beautiful experience, So you have water element, the light and so on. So looking at these are as a active, engaging with luminosity, inner light, inner awareness.
And then what happens is I'm curious about how, so I can engage in that, but I'm in a pool of other swimmers who are maybe not engaged in that. And what does the curiosity become for me collectively? How can, given everything that's going in the world, I wonder how we can be together in light, in luminosity.
Yeah, so when one is connected, it helps other people to connect.
And do you feel like there needs to be an active engagement with that, or do you feel like it emerges when you are in practice this
if
way?
you're trying to, for example, if you are in a state of awareness, you just imagine you include everybody around you, it impacts them. You're holding, we say that, right? I hold you in that space. You can say I hold you in that light, and that clearly has impact. So, but I mean, actively trying to make everybody do something that will not work, right? Yeah.
Well, that's sort of the question that I have, because I kind of get a sense of how there's a luminosity of mind, which is this freedom, being away from this constant barrage of thoughts, which is chaos, and how spaciousness and silence and stillness can help that state come about. And I also see how my thoughts and my identification keep that away. So, and I certainly, well, I don't understand, but I certainly hear you when you say that there's the bardo situation of luminosity. My question is, that we've talked about luminosity of mind, luminosity of meditation, luminosity of bardo. Is there a luminosity that occurs in a field? Because you were talking about a group. Is there such a thing as a field of luminosity so that we can join together in something that maybe is even a higher state of consciousness?
No, yes. So there is something called they call pervasive Rigpa, and they call conscious pervasive Rigpa, conscious awareness, pervasive awareness. So there's some kind of luminosity. It's matter, mind, being. It's pervaded everywhere. It's the truth. It's the basis of everything. So it's everywhere. But that's the truth. That truth does not help so much unless you are aware of the truth. So when you're aware of the truth, then you can say bring that awareness more collectively. So between two people, they can say for example, let's say this way. A simple way, kind of simple way to talk that will be if between a couple, that if they are if they are able to go beyond their pain identity, their stories, someplace they can merge as a union, right? As a couple, we think about a union. So you merge somewhere, you merge in more union, not the ultimate union, but union in a sense like a respect. We respect each other. That's a union. We love each other. That's a union. So you are in that space, but in the space of love and respect. So there you have peace. There you have a healing. There you are connected. But many times in relationship, that space is not there, right? So I always tell stories that, like as a father, I can say that. As a husband, I can say that. Sometimes as a couple, we talk about different ideas or different things. So in the end of the day, at home, I prefer to agree everything with my wife. Even intellectually, I know something, maybe well, in this thing, I think I have some experiences of my efficiency, you might be not right, and I have those thoughts. But when I hear those voices in me, I said, no, that's not important. Here, what is important, you respect her. Whatever her opinion matters more than my opinion. So I have to let go of my opinion, my efficiency, my smartness, and just have to say, I love this person.
Wow.
So you go that identity, and that's where you become one with someone. Or with the children, same thing. You know, you say, I'm older, I'm 65, you're only 19, I have a lot of experiences of my life, you should supposed to be doing this, and you have a lot of advices, right? But at the end of the day, so of course, but the fact is 19, I'm 65, 65 advice will not work on 19, that I don't forget about it, you know. I think the transmission should go on. So at some point I have to realize that it's not what I think is right. You know, it's more, I try to respect the individuality of this boy. This is born in India, grown up in California, American school. This is this environment he's growing up. He's trying to shape some identity from this. I shaped my identity from my monastery. Two different things. So I just have to respect that individuality. Not to think about I have a wisdom, I have a some advices, nothing like that. I have to just, it almost like I'm saying, it's fine. Just, you have my blessing, just be careful. Go ahead, explore, take a risk, just be careful. You need something, I'm here. I respect you. So when I'm able to say that, then I become one with him. Right? So it's not like becoming one with someone does not mean somebody has to agree with you. Is the most of the time is the opposite. You have to completely let go of yourself. You agree with someone, especially with loved ones.
That is.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. And it's so challenging. I just have to say, I can't do that. I mean, it's interesting because many of us work in high conflict spaces. And especially in the world we're in right now, it feels like there's a lot of polarization, a lot of tension. And in the encounter, the relational encounter, there's an activation, at least for me in these spaces, that to be able to encounter, it's one thing to tell my grandkid and go, oh, yay, be beautiful in this luminous space, right? It's harder when I'm triggered by, in these deep spaces of conflict, to be in that, that, and even in the practices that I learn from you and that I learn from others, to engage with a different kind of relational space, right? In that radical awareness, right? That's the challenge, right? It's the how, and collectively how.
So one thing I think is important to understand is, sometimes when we say the very conflicting situation, challenging, it's this, again, there's the same story here. The situation challenges you. Then we talk about the situation. We are not talking about the one who is attracted to those situations, right? Because the situation is equally, we all share the same world we're living in, but we don't share how we respond to the same world we're living in. But why sometimes we are more interested in a conflict than some good event things happening. For example, in today's society, if you think about even the government, like if you think about people say, oh, administration, this and that. But scary is not one person. Scary is the half of the majority who elected it, right? If you think about that sense. Or if you think about it, so it's a very collective thing. It's not, I mean, even though we're trying to narrow down into one thing or group story or something like that, even stories that we are sometimes, it's just there, all the stories are there. But you don't have to get involved in that way. You can accommodate, you can trust. I always trying to do that. That's, I think, one my way of having some peace in the whole this situation in life is that I say that when I say I'm having a difficult time with it, basically means I'm judging the situation. I'm saying it's wrong, right? I'm saying it's not supposed to be like that. I mean, it's wrong. So, but how do I know it's wrong? Do I really know it's wrong? There must be some bigger reasons why it's something is happening. I know so many times in my life, some things did not go my way. In the end, they turn out to be better than if it has gone my way. So maybe whole life is always like that, you know, like there's some bigger story that I don't know. So I hope there's some better story, the reason this is happening. Even the war, I hope we have to go through this, then there will be a greater peace along in the future. You know, at least I'm trying to process that way.
I hope to. Yeah, we have. Yes, we have. We are going to go in, have audience questions. Sure. Yes.
My name is Elliot. I once lived in northern India, so I was introduced.
Yeah. There you go. Just
Like this?
Yeah.
Okay. My name is Elliot. I once lived in northern India, and I was introduced to a concept I'd never heard growing up in New York City, which was Maya, M-A-Y-A. And anyway, at that point, they told me it meant illusion. But I know you may have heard this concept before, and I would like you to tell me more than just the word illusion.
So illusion is same thing that I talk about the pain identity. You know, so it's very clear that we have different roles that we play in our life. So you can say, you know, you're a professor, you're a teacher, you're father, husband, wife, roles that we play, right? Definitely we identify with those roles. Definitely something we identify more than the other identities. But in deep inside, you need to know this is just illusion. You know, I'm a father, but it's illusion. I'm a husband, this is illusion. I'm a teacher, this is illusion. Whenever I say I am something, it's an illusion because I am no one. I am potential to be identified with anything. That's a different than being only one. So when you're only being one, it's create a lot of sufferings. When you're no one, when you're potential to be anyone, you have a lot of freedom. So the Maya illusion means when you strictly identify with one. That's the illusion. And that illusion creates a lot of suffering. And every time we have, I mean, practically speaking, we always have to remember that this is just my identity. This is a temporary thing, but in the end, I'm not this. I'm more than this. I'm more than a father. I'm more than a teacher. I'm more than this. I'm more than that. And that's important. Yeah.
Thank you for that question.
Rinpoche Lao, so great to be here with you. I'm one of your students with the Cyber Sangha for the past 7 years. And I wanted to know, and building upon this illusion, so I was initiated into the Bön teachings through you, but my root teacher is the Vajrayana Tantric Tibetan path. And we're constantly inquiring about the fictive selves, right? And so I'm a PhD student here. That's a fictive self. And there's an over-identification challenge when you're in an institutional environment. And there's a continual barrage, right, of these projections when I'm wearing one hat and then I'm wearing another hat. And where I am right now in my own life is I have the practices to disidentify. I have a Yidam yoga practice, right, Vajra Yogini. But still, it's kind of to Dr. Ona's salient point, it's a challenge in a Western worldview construct to be dedicated to your practices here in the Bay Area and then walk out into samsara. So what wisdom do you have that can ease that a bit? Because I'm constantly unlayering the fictive self.
Yeah, so one thing is, seems like you're doing quite well. So constantly be aware of that, which is challenges are there. And so, yeah, again, just take it easy. You know, life is, take it, yeah.
We're in the same boat.
Yeah. Yeah. Take it easy, yeah.
We are all in the same boat.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like end of the day, every given moment, if you lose a sense of peace, you lost that sense of peace. You're not necessarily going to be able to fix the problem if you get trapped with those identity. So remembering that, even a practical point of view, being trapped in some identity, if it really helps you to resolve some problem, then I can see the reason it's not going to happen. So just taking it easy, life. This is the moment to just live your life fully. This is the moment to listen to someone. Even somebody is kind of being mean to you, they said, this is my opportunity to just listen to this person fully, this mean person. Maybe this person needs it. And just you listen, that's it. And then this person end up there, end of the conversation, this person feels better, right? So that's okay. Just be happy. Yeah.
We appreciate that. Yes, we appreciate that. I'm going to ask some questions from the online community that has joined us. I think there's over 100 that are here with us virtually. Our first question is from Amy. And Amy asks, why do we sometimes cling to our pain identity when we have a chance to let it go?
Because the pain identity has been very familiar and been long enough. When idea of letting it go is fresh, it's not very stable. Yeah, that's the main reason. Yeah. Yeah, but I think at least this is a process. Or, you know, I mean, the question here, how many people ask this kind of question? No. So you see, the fact you're asking this question, you're on a good way. So just keep on. Think about it. I'm already in a good way. And this is my journey. I'm going to keep searching. I'm going to keep reflecting. So it's idea of really like saying, just this idea of, I mean, I feel like this idea of even, you know, you wish to be no one. You always, you know, inspire to be no one, but you have to be someone. You have a role and responsibility. But at least this idea of, I'm really, really wanted to be no one. You know, so that even that seeds, if you plant it much earlier in your life, as a father, as a mother, as a whatever role you're playing, you will be definitely, not only you will be free faster from those roles and pains, stories, but you will serve better in those roles and pains too. Because, you know, in the end, you're not, I mean, even parent and children, you can sometimes see it's all about power struggle. Who's right? You don't want to be right. You know, I mean, there was some funny stories in a husband and wife been a very, very long time together. How long you have been, what is the secret? He said, I don't want to be right. I wanted to be happy. Relationship, like, so it's a similar point, right? In the end, I don't want to be no one. I wanted to be happy. So need to be someone, needed to be right, need to be correct. Just let it go. Especially when you have a loving relationship. Just let it go.
We have another question as well, and then I'll go to you. When I practice dream yoga, I am still struggling to meet teachers and practice with them. I once was lucid and asked to see Nomokai Norbu Rinpoche, saw a snake and got lost along the way. How do I call in teachers and know their face versus false teachers or delusion?
So first of all, don't look for a teacher, find yourself. Right? So then if you find yourself, then you might find the right teacher. If they, yeah, so yes, I think first look for yourself. And if not, what? Can you see yourself in a dream? Are you asking me or yourself? Yeah. So you can, yeah, you can have experiences with yourself, but not necessarily a single identity. You might, people identify differently. You know, sometimes they might, like for example, I have one in a dream. I have only one child, but in dream I have two. And this is not just one night dream. It's been for years. I have another child. So it's like even your sense of self, you might identify with one, but you can have a different identity. You know, you will see yourself different. Even you might see even different gender, different age. You know, so yeah, infinite possibility. What? Yeah, yeah. So look for yourself for sure. No.
Hi. Last year I started reading The Spontaneous Creativity and was practicing open sky meditation with clients. I graduated last year, so I guess I'm a baby therapist. Can you talk a little bit about pure awareness? Pure awareness. Yeah. So in the book you talk about no mind, who has these thoughts, and so sometimes when you think about awareness, it activates the mind. So I feel like in my own personal journey, pure awareness might be a state of energy
Mhm.
and the approach towards it. So I would love for you to
Sure.
elucidate on pure awareness.
So maybe the simplest way to kind of have some understanding will be pure awareness is not something that you try. You put effort. I mean, if you put effort and you try it, it's not called spontaneous, right? Spontaneous is when you don't put effort and don't try. So the pure awareness could be something after getting a good night's sleep. Everybody knows, right? After you get long, deep, very good sleep, and then when you wake up in the morning, how do you feel? Can you describe it? Very rested, very open, very clear, very optimistic, a lot of creative ideas. I mean, even this big decisions, some decisions that you make, I mean, for me, it's like that. When some decisions that I will make or something that I will do, a creative sense, it comes up within a 5 minute, and then I will take action. It was amazing things that I could do. But if I have to think about how to do that, it might take days and weeks and months. That's spontaneous creativity. But it come out of deep rest. So it's one thing. I think the simplest way to think will be, I think it's for everybody needs it, especially in modern society. Don't try too hard. Don't work too hard. Don't think too much. Don't have too many meetings. And I mean, I run a lot of organizations, so I'm against with a lot of meetings. Just rest more, take a nap, then let's meet. You know, once you rest, all this energies, clarity comes. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Before I ask this weird question, I have to, in my defense, I have to tell who I am. I'm Mongolian, grew up with Gelug tradition. So I actually have two questions. First question is, have you ever, I'm assuming you did, see clear like a border? If you did, would you share your experience? My second question is, I did dream yoga workshop with you online, and then I practiced seeing the natural things in this reality in a dream way. So I stopped driving whole week and I did that practice, and I found colors of the dreams in the reality. But I cannot do it when I'm driving, rushing, working, you know, is there is any way I can continue to do that while I'm living in a normal life?
So I think I understand the second one. First one, I'm not sure I got the question. What? Pardon.
Your experience with a clear light.
So share the experience of Pardo? Well, I'm still alive, you know. Yeah. No. Yeah. So the clear light of Pardo, as I said earlier, people will talk about near-death experiences. This is reported. Many people seeing the light after their death. So there are different stages of the Pardo. During these different stages of Pardo, you see different visions. You see lights, you see symbols, you see images, you see deities, scary, peaceful. So you have to see. It's like watching a movie. This is a movie. It's not real. This is illusion. So you have to understand this is nothing out there. It's just a projection of me. That's the understanding of Pardo. So in a dream, yeah, so generally speaking, when you say everything is like a dream, that means, again, take it easy. Don't be too serious. Same meaning. It's like a dream. But you don't want to be people who are already very dreamy. Like, I don't recommend that. You know, you have to ground a little bit. This is not a dream. Be grounded. So you might, especially when you're driving, right? So it's a risk there. Yeah.
So Kylie is asking, from your perspectives on consciousness and that of your lineage, what is the relationship between waking life and dream time?
So there's 2 point of views. We say ultimately, or the base point of view, there's no differences. Dream is real as this experiences, and this experiences is unreal as like a dream. So there's no differences. But this world, with this body, with the car there you're driving, there is a distinction. Right? So when you're in this world, you just wanted to be a little bit more cautious. There's a consequences of this body, something will happen to this body. But even though something happened to this body, ultimately, who cares about it? You know, it just doesn't matter. One body existing. If you go and watch the blue planet, you know, like looking from up there, down there, you don't even exist. But here, when you look up, you say, my problem is bigger than this universe. Right? So it's like that. So in big picture, no. Small picture, be aware. And that it's good to remember both, because when you feel a lot of problem, think about a big picture. When you see the big picture, then your problem is nothing.
We haven't. Oh, here, yeah.
Hello. I want to ask a question about the relationship that you see between the pain identity and the body, because like the pain identity, as I get it, is more linked to the stories that I identify with my mind. But we also have a body that can give us pleasant or also very unpleasant feelings. So I can maybe let go of the stories, but I can't really let go of my body that also can produce pain. How you see the relationship?
So that's a very good question. So there's, generally speaking, pain identity is much more deeper than our body. Our body is the manifestation, is the outcome. Even sensations, feelings, pain, sickness, all are outcome, results of pain body. So there are stories, for example, I'm sure many of you know, like the idea of identity disorder, multiple personality. So if you think about a multiple personality, these identity kids, when they're around 4, 5, 6 years old, they're severe abuse, particularly abused by people, caretakers. So when they get abused, those moments, they manifest, like in the tantric yoga, they manifest into another personality. This is a kid, but they're manifesting adult, like a 30 years old, strong person, or humorous person, a playful person, whatever they need to survive, they manifest personality. Sometimes not one personality, many personality they manifest. Why they manifest? For survival reasons. Because that kid cannot manage it. They have to have stronger, bigger. So now later on in their life, these personality, some of personality are sick, like maybe diagnosed with a diabetes, or another personality is not diagnosed with diabetes. One personality is allergic to orange, another personality does not. So mind, when the one identity manifests, whole biological situation changes. No allergic anymore. So what I'm saying, you see, the identity is far more powerful than your physiological conditions. So that's the relationship. So in a belief, there are many cases where people think about spontaneous remission. Many thousands of cases spontaneous remission happens because of the identity shift, not some medical treatments. So I think it's an amazing field to be exploring. Yeah.
Thank you for that question. We have another question from online. Jimmy is asking, in the Bön tradition, luminosity is described as a natural state of mind that is unaffected by suffering. For those of us living and working in high stress or emotionally volatile environments, how can we quickly return to that luminosity when the external noise feels deafening?
So first of all, don't try to return very quickly. That's the pain identity. That's the effort and expectations. So just gradually recognize that situation is there. I do not have to respond where I'm planning to respond. I can create more space. I can create more awareness. I can look at it from different perspective. So every perspective, if you look at some situation, that you think you don't like that idea, but probably there's so much more that situation is giving you. For every sense, maybe even business, more earning, or more connection, more health, more freedom. Maybe what you don't want, maybe it will give you more than what you do want. It's just your relationship to it has to be changed from different place. So if you trust that, so maybe that's a different possibility. Then you don't get stuck in one outcome. So those are little things, little steps take often. Then you see bigger. Meanwhile, take it easy.
Take it easy. Absolutely take it easy. So we are at time, Rinpoche, and I just wanted to sort of really deeply thank you for being here and being deeply present with us today. It has been such a blessing to be in this luminosity and our community, our beloved community here as well as online, are deeply appreciative of your wisdom. So are there any things that you want to say in the last minute that we have?
Take it easy.
Take it easy. Okay. Thank you for that. So thank you everyone for being here today. Thank you for joining us at this public program here at CIIS. Feel free this will be available on our public programs website, as well as feel free to visit our department, the Department of Transformative Inquiry. Both Connie and myself and Rinpoche appreciate your presence here this evening. Blessings, Tashi Dalek, everyone. Take care. Thank you. That was absolutely brilliant, Rinpoche. How are you?
As always.
Please. You have Connie is bringing you.